I call this poem Disillusioned. Right is right and wrong is wrong. At least that's what they told me. Time will validate the prophets. But the older I got, the lunatics began to sound prophetic. And the prophets, well, something else. And so I began to expand my brain to the pain felt by those whose stories were untold, expand my brain to the reality that maybe the narrative I'd been told wasn't the whole of the story. And certain things that held glory tarnished as truth dropped like rain, revealing that maybe every story has two sides or three or four, and things that seemingly conflict can in fact create space between the two, and both be true? And is there space for me and for you? Right is right and wrong is wrong, at least that's what they told me, and war crimes that sounded from the climes, and right is right and wrong was wrong, and all could agree, and all could see, certainly, what is and what needed to be. And Monroe Doctrine and Geneva Conventions and the United Nations and all its dimensions made sense of the chaos, committed to improve upon the pain that defied explanation, the pain that drove us all insane. And make sense of it they did, orderly and neat. They rewrote history, concise and complete, because right is right and wrong is wrong. At least that's what they told us. But the history they taught me, concise and so neat, maybe was, after all, incomplete. Because her body bleeding and images of those children's little feet, gray and lifeless now, scream and demand of me to see. To hold the narrative accountable, to make it make sense. Because right is right and wrong is wrong unless the truth is too inconvenient to be told, and hundreds of thousands, millions of lives gone, rolled into the ground. That, of course, belongs to one chosen people and not another. A people who at one time called each other brother and not other. Not on the right side or on the left, you see, but here together, intertwined since time immemorial, perhaps eternity. He who lives by the sword dies by the sword, so the prophet was to say, and violence has no place. And our advanced diplomacy and grand display of where we're at today, of humanity's potential. But whose voice is being heard? Whose words are being read? And who keeps track of the unheard screams of the dead, whose lives were violated with our certainty that right is right and wrong is wrong, because now I'm not so sure. And maybe it was never us against them, but rather us against ourselves, to call out our sin, our own hypocrisy, and sackcloth and ashes, wail out our dirges, eliminating the urges to crown our heads with certainty, but rather to dwell in this desolate land and make broad the space of our inhabitation, and share in the sustenance of which we impart, to enjoin us together. Perhaps now is a start. Of things to come, of things better, things to be. For all this has seemingly come of that golden calf of certainty. That right is right and wrong is wrong, and ever divided we will be when we focus on defining that line, instead of perhaps just sitting, you and me, and the vibration, because what will be, will be.